It is the latest in a string of briefs filed in federal court related to the ORDOT consent decree case, specifically the Guam Solid Waste Authority's request and letter filed with the court in February seeking resolution to four main issues: to immediately start the search for a general manager, allow the board a real oversight role in portions of the Guam Solid Waste Authority operation, start the search for a chief financial officer, and finally the ability to immediately issue an RFP for legal services. Since its February letter, GovGuam, the receiver, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office filed their responses to the GSWA's board's request. Although GovGuam supports GSWA's efforts, the same couldn't be said for GBB and the U.S. Attorney's Office. In his brief, U.S. Assistant Attorney Robert Mullaney objected to the GSWA board's proposals because they feel the board has failed to demonstrate either the technical expertise in solid waste operations or the required familiarity with GSWA's finances. Instead, they requested the federal receiver retain its control and authority over GSWA's day-to-day operations and consent decree projects. In a letter filed with the court Monday, GSWA Interim Chair Andrew Gale Jr. wrote the board takes exception to the criticism considering the fact the U.S. Attorney has never attended a board meeting and has not engaged the board in any manner. Gale wrote, "The board is loaded with talent, a telecom executive with experience in privatizing a public utility, a beverage company executive with extensive operational and media experience, a successful and renowned corporate attorney, a finance executive with extensive bond knowledge and experience, and a local businessman with direct operational experience within the solid waste division of the Department of Public Works." Gale added that he and his colleagues take the court's instruction to become familiar with the solid waste operations seriously. Quote, "which is why the board seeks more timely and more in-depth financial information. It's also why the board has pushed for almost a year now to have legal counsel and proceed with creating its rules and regulations. It is also why the board is now here asking the court to allow it to hire a general manager and CFO to help lead the agency through the transition," end quote. Meanwhile, in their response brief to the court, the GSWA board also submitted a letter from Senator Tom Atta, who authored the law creating the Guam Solid Waste Authority. Senator Atta wrote that he supports their efforts in taking a more participative role in the oversight of GSWA's operations and the immediate recruitment of a general manager and chief financial officer.
Just based on where the receiver is at right now with the decree, it appears that there's really justification to be able to start accelerating that timeline and start getting then the Solid Waste Authority Board involved, and as opposed to waiting until much later, as was proposed by the receiver. So in that respect, then I wrote the letter to the board expressing to them my confidence in the ability of the board to begin that transition process now, insofar as selecting a general manager, a chief financial officer, a legal counsel who will assist them in the development of their rules and regulations. So I just don't see any reason why we should further delay that.